Hey there, it's time to work on that big secret that we've been talking about and move on to part 3 in our series on how to grow your business by having the perfect growth plan for 2020 and beyond. Hey, I'm CP, and if you are new here, welcome. This is actually part 3 of a 3-part series, all focused on growing your business through a growth plan for 2020 and beyond. So if you missed the first 2 episodes, you are definitely going to want to go back and watch those. We'll put the link up here in the cards for you because you will be absolutely lost here. And I want you to make sure that you pay attention to all that I say about being an asshole, because I am really serious about my tolerance for assholes. But for the rest of you, my loves, grab your pen and your workbook and let's get back to work. All right, so let's do a quick recap of what we've already talked about in part 1 and part 2 of this series. And again, if you missed them and you are just coming in on part 3, you are definitely going to want to go back because we have covered a lot. We have reviewed what the actual planning process is and why you need to do it. We have also revealed all the major components of what your plan needs to include, and I've dived deep into all of those major components. I've also revealed all of my secrets and how I actually do my research and begin to organize my thoughts. And you guys got your workbooks that hopefully you have been using as we've gone through what really in essence isn't just a CPTV episode, but this has been structured more like a workshop that normally I'd be charging big bucks for. So keep that in mind. So now I am ready to talk about this big secret that we started talking about in part 2, which is the presidential retreat, and kind of talk to you guys. I'm going to walk you through, how to organize yours, how to plan yours, and ultimately how to conduct it in order for you to really be able to get it done. And I know there's some of you out there who are watching right now. We've had a relationship before. You might have been clients. You may be friends and family. You know that I have gone on presidential retreats my entire career as an entrepreneur. And how did they all start? Well, when I first started my business, almost 25 years ago, my very first business, it used to be where I would just take a day away from the office in order to really work on my business. That's really critical for me. I'm a big person that needs solitude in order to think, and I get overwhelmed and I'll start losing sleep because of all the ideas that are kind of in my head going around every single day and every single night. If I don't take time every single year to figure out what's working and what's not working, and I'm a big planner, if you know me, so I will actually use that time to plan. So when I first started my business, back in my humble beginnings, I had hardly any money, and it really used to be almost just like an overnight thing, right? I go down the street from my house, I get a hotel room on a Thursday night, I check in at 3:00 and I check out Saturday morning. So all I would really have would be Thursday night, all day Friday, and usually maybe the first thing in the morning on Saturday to do all the stuff that I talked to you about in part 1 and part 2 of the series. And so why do I do this? Because I need to spend some time thinking on and about what the next big thing is. I need to organize my life. I need to organize my mindset. I need time away, and I need an excuse to be able to work as much as I want to, when I want to. But most importantly, I need to dedicate myself to that time to work on my business every single year. And shortly after I started doing this, and I would tell people about it because everybody used to have their own assumption about what I was doing when I would go on my retreats. They're like, "Oh girl, what you doing? What you mean it's a retreat? Who's on the retreat with you? You taking staff member? Is somebody going? Is your husband?" No, it's me by myself with a free pass to work on my business, and I needed it. It was kind of an interesting discussion when I first started talking to my family about it all those years ago. Well, in the beginning, as I mentioned, it was just a Thursday to a Saturday. Now they're actually up to a full week. I go away, and right now it's only once a year, but in 2020, one of my growth plan strategies is to implement doing it at least twice a year, if not every single quarter. Now, if I do it every single quarter, it won't be for a whole week. But if I do it twice a year, it will probably be for a week at each time, because I feel like the middle of the year, like around, May, June, I need to take that time to think about it. And then again, at the end of the year, looking at what I want to do for 2021. And in May or June, I'll focus on the second half of the year. So they're up to a full week for me, and they changed from down the street. Then I went to Amish country to get far away. And then I go back to my hometown every year so that I can hang out there, spend some time, because I don't currently live full time in my hometown. I'm back and forth a lot. But ultimately, I go to my hometown every year and do my retreating there. That way I can also incorporate some fun into it. So let's dive in. But before we do, I want to make sure that you guys remember to subscribe. If you are into this and you feel like, dang, CP, damn, Cheryl, you're giving me a full workshop here on how to do some business planning, please subscribe. This is just the beginning of CPTV. You have no idea what I have in store for you. So you can click that button right down here at the bottom of that screen, the left-hand corner. You see me down there? Subscribe, click it. You'll subscribe instantly. Make sure you like this. Make sure you comment on this and make sure you share this good news. I appreciate it. I have some huge goals about CPTV and this YouTube channel for 2020, and all the help that you can give me to get to 50,000 subscribers is greatly appreciated. So don't forget to subscribe. So let's dive in to the kind of how, when, and what regarding this presidential retreat. At one point in my career, when I would describe that I was going on my presidential retreats, one person said to me, Bill Gates does those, I think. And I was like, really? I'm doing the same thing in my business that Bill Gates is doing as his, which is critical to me and very important because, do I admire Bill Gates? Absolutely. Do you know what that man is worth? $106 billion. Anybody who's worth that much money, as far as I'm concerned, is somebody that I should be listening to. And he too practices what he calls think weeks every single year. He actually does them twice a year as well. That's kind of where I got my idea to add a whole nother week and do it halfway through the year. So if Bill Gates thinks it's good to do, CP thinks it's good to do. And if Bill Gates and CP thinks it's good to do, you should do it, especially if you are trying to get to that next level. You want to scale up and you want to start up. Bottom line, you must dedicate yourself and commit yourself to taking the time to work on your business. So let's get into it. So the first step in how you are going to pull this off is really simple. It's a no-brainer. You got to schedule it and you got to book it. Even though in my career, I have always taken one of these, in the beginning, I would wait too long to schedule it and book it. And then it would end up getting pushed out too far into the year for me to be able to rebound, get the plan in place, and begin implementation at the end of that previous calendar year. Because the goal is to be able to, come up with your plan. And now that I have a management team, I need to roll it out to them. I need to get their input and feedback. They need to start working on the specifics of how we're going to get certain things done. And then we need to come back with a final plan. And we need to have all that done, in my mind, by December so that January 1, we are ready to move forward. Well, when I wasn't scheduling and booking it well, I would end up taking it in November. By the time I could get everything done, it was the middle of January. And we didn't start kicking things off to our team sometime until February, sometimes March, which means we've lost the entire first quarter of the following calendar year. So now, like right now, my retreat for 2020 is already in my mind. I already know what it is because I got to block off my calendar because it fills up too quickly. And I got to go ahead and book my hotel, find out where I want to go, and make the plan. So scheduling and booking it is the first important piece. And I want you guys to comment below for me today. When is yours and where are you going to take it? Tell us, share. That's a piece of that accountability. I want to know when you are scheduling yours for. If you haven't done one in 2019 for 2020, schedule it now. When is yours and where are you going to take it? Let me know in the comments below. All right. So once you go through step number 1, which is to schedule it and book it, you also must prepare for it. And to prepare for it, it's stuff that you actually will be doing in advance. And there's an entire list of things that I want to make sure that we talk about in order for you to prepare. And these are things that I do throughout the year, but that you can start doing right now and that you probably already done a little bit of and you just didn't realize that you were doing it for your Think Week or your presidential retreat, right? So how do you prepare for it? Throughout the year, I keep a running list of all the stuff that I want to do on my retreat, that I want to think about, that I want to investigate, that I want to research, that I want to evaluate. And it helps me throughout the year get my mind right. If you haven't seen our original video and our How to Set Up Your Business series on how to get your mind right, I will link to the card right here, because this card and how to get your mind right, you can't just do it when you're starting your business. Honestly, you got to do it every single year. And this is how I do it to get all those racing thoughts out of my head throughout the year. I ultimately then will keep a running list. And at the top of that list, I write down retreat things and I just start to get the stuff out of my head and onto paper. The next thing that you're going to want to do in order to prepare for it is gather all of your research for the stuff that we talked about in parts 2 and 1 of this actual series in order to get the stuff for your plan. So you're going to want to gather your research for your market analysis. You're going to want to gather your research for your customer. You're going to want to gather your research, your financials from your organization, all the stuff that you need that's going on internally and all the stuff that you need to review that's going on externally. And ultimately, like for me, throughout the year, there's a bunch of research that I've received. There might be education, all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, then you're going to want to make sure that I've gathered all of those things. Like throughout the year, if there's blog posts or articles or new technologies or things that I've received because I've been doing research, I have a special folder in my email and I just plop them all in there. And that's my retreat folder. And when I go on my retreat, I go into that folder. I like paper. I know I'm killing the forest, whatever. Don't judge me. Okay. I like paper. So I sometimes print all that stuff out. People will see me leaving my office with binders and folders and bags and sometimes boxes of paper that I need to read. And also any educational materials. So at that point, I want to make sure that I'm prepared and gathering all my research for my plan. And then I also take the Getting My Mind Right workbook. And I gave you guys the Getting Your Mind Right workbook that I use during this planning process. I want you to use it as well. And we will link to it in the description below. But you're going to want to get that because it helps me reevaluate my why, my what, my how every single year. And I spend some time on my retreat working through that workbook and continuing to get my mind back in that space that it needs to be a boss and to lead my team into the future. The next thing that I do in order to prepare is I kind of gather my educational arsenal. And that's really important. I know that I briefly mentioned my email file that I keep throughout the year because I know that I'm going to begin reading all of this stuff while I'm on my retreat. But my educational arsenal also includes the books that I've been wanting to read or the webinars that I've been wanting to go back and replay. Any technology that I've wanted to review, I call and I schedule my demos for that technology while I'm on my retreat. And that's like maybe a half a day. If I've got, 5 different technology tools that I'm thinking about reviewing to implement for the following year, I'll have my administrator schedule them an hour apart and boom, boom, boom. I know one whole morning I've got 5 demos that I'm going through and then boom, I've gotten all of that done at one time. So my educational arsenal is critical. My books that I want to do for personal development and also to grow my business that's been on my list, that's included in my educational arsenal. And then the other thing that you want to do is gather all of your supplies. Now, I do take a lot of supplies with me when I go on my retreat. Pens, I'm a highlighter girl, I'm a Sharpie girl, but the most important supply that I take are those huge wall Post-its because I need a whiteboard. I am a whiteboard girl. When I'm brainstorming on ideas, sometimes it looks like a beautiful mind in there. So what I ultimately will do is I'll take those huge Post-it notes and you don't believe me, check this out. See, I told you, I literally take everything off the walls in my hotel room and I start slapping them bad boys around. And throughout my process, I start writing things on those Post-it notes. And that's important. Sometimes even if my friends come to the hotel to visit me, they'll be like, girl, the hell you got going on in here? Taking your medication. That's what they say to me. But I ain't worried about them. Then I take them off, I bring them back, I give them to my administrative assistant and she types everything out. So no matter what you decide that you want to take from a supply perspective, obviously your laptop, your computer, all that kind of good stuff, you want to make sure that you've got some wall Post-it notes to help you in that preparation process. Now let's talk about what your on-site agenda is going to be as you are doing your Think Week or your presidential retreat. The first thing that I want to make sure you include, and don't worry, your workbook includes this agenda for you. You know I wasn't going to leave you hanging. You probably already saw it and was thinking, what is she talking about? But this is really the order that you're going to want to work through things in. Obviously, being as flexible as you need to be to grow your business and implement this part. But ultimately, the first thing that you're going to do is start working through all of your sections of your plan, section by section. right? And you're pretty much going to want to do this in order. So you're going to start with your environmental analysis. So that's the first thing, doing all of your research, your reading, your analysis, going to those secrets that I told you about. Then you're going to want to work on your SWOT, sit and actually spend time doing all of that. And then you're going to also work on your situational analysis. You want to get this done early in your retreat. And this includes any research, any education, any webinars, any demos, any reviewing of your financials, all the stuff that you need to do in order to get this done first. So this is almost day one for me. I focus on all the research and all the information to get my environmental, the outside stuff, my inside stuff figured out, and what my strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats are. That's really important. After you work through all the sections in order and you really start to focus on these things, then you're going to make your decisions on what your overall goals are going to be for your organization. Right? You're going to make your decisions on your goals, and you're literally going to get one of those post-it wall board things that I told you about out, and you're going to write based on all the stuff that I just put into my plan and all these things I just wrote or typed out, whatever you prefer. I'm going to get one sticky board and put on here goals. And I'm going to start writing out my decisions. These are the things that I really need to work on. These are my overall 2 to 4 things that I really need to do next year. And you're going to write those out so that you can see them and you can sleep with them. Okay. And then you're going to also focus on the specific action items that you need and your deadlines. And you're going to start putting together all the initiatives in order for you to get those goals accomplished. And you're going to do those things based upon continuing to educate yourself on what it's going to take to get those things done. My expectation, and yours shouldn't be either, that you are automatically going to know what it's going to take in order to get those goals done. That's why you're on your retreat. The hardest part is figuring out those goals. You've got more days in your retreat in order to figure out how you're going to get it done. And that's going to require some additional education, right? Maybe you start looking up an online course that will help you figure this out, and you register for it and you buy it and you finish that course in one day. I've done it. I've done a 6-week course in 6 hours. So you can do that because that's why you're on your retreat. And I'm telling you, there's no better place to do it, because I guarantee you, if you don't do it at the retreat, you're not going to do it at all, and your business is not going to grow. So you're going to want to make sure that you make your decisions on your goals. You're going to write it all out, and you're going to ultimately make sure that you can figure it out and do your research and educate yourself on action items. Right? That's your other agenda items, right? Your next agenda item is to allow for self-care. This is a big one. I just started doing this on my presidential retreats, and I've literally taken one every year for the last 25 years. And I would tell you, only in the last 5 years did I allow myself to eliminate the guilt of actually being on a presidential retreat, telling myself I'm there to work, not being with my family, not being with my husband, whatever the case may be. I used to feel guilty if I did anything that was enjoyable because I'm supposed to be here hustling and working it out. And now I make sure that I've got some self-care in there. If as the CEO, I'm not in a good space mentally when I get back and I'm more exhausted from my retreat than when I went, I reconnect with myself. I redevelop that respect for myself. I do all of those things that are important. So a part of your agenda is definitely self-care. Take bubble baths. Well, I won't go through all that stuff because you might not necessarily be into the same self-care that I am. Schedule massages, get you a pedicure, get you a, okay. Yeah, I know what kind of gifts I like. So we're going to move on. So yeah, make sure that you schedule your self-care. And also you gotta follow the rules of retreating. That's also your last agenda item. Follow the rules of retreating. And I want to talk a little bit about what those rules are. So the rules are the rules. You got to follow the rules. And let's talk about what those rules are, right? Rule number 1, work whenever you want to, however you want to, and for however long you want to. Rule number 2, put out of office on your email and your voicemail. Do not do any work in your business. Rule number 3, eliminate unnecessary distractions. Rule number 4, schedule and allow for some fun while you're on your retreat. And rule number 5, and the most important rule, finish the plan before you leave. These are all so critical. And over the years, I've kind of created this rules list. And next year, I might add another rule. But you have to be able to work whenever you want to. One of my rules of retreating is that I can work around the clock if I want to. Sometimes I will wake up, and usually I get a king size bed so that the whole other half of the bed can be kind of my bed office. And I will work sometimes till 3 o'clock in the morning until my body shuts down. And in the middle of the night, if my brain is racing, like we all know happens as entrepreneurs, I can roll right over, grab my laptop, and go back to work. But that also means I get to sleep in and stay in my pajamas the whole next day. So sometimes I've worked 18, 20 hours. There is no rule to stopping. And that's one of the things I love about my retreat. There's no one standing over me telling me to shut it down and to stop working. So work whenever you want, however long you want to. You got to put your out of office on your email and your voicemail. The whole purpose of this is so that you can focus on working on your business. And you can't do that if you're responding to customers and clients and handling staff concerns or questions or doing anything that has to do with your business. So just like you're going on vacation, put your out of office on so that everybody knows that you are away, but you are doing something so important, even though you are working. Sometimes mine says, I'm away at a business conference with no access to email or voicemail. So I'll talk to y'all in 6 days when I get back, right? So ultimately you want to do that. Eliminate any unnecessary distractions. I have violated that rule in the past, which is when this rule actually became a rule. A couple of years ago, I was trying to multitask. I had some events going on in the same area. I was on a committee. I was like, all right, I'm going to schedule my retreat during these events. And that way I can take care of some of those event stuff while I'm in the middle of my retreat. Bad idea. It was a huge distraction. And what ended up being a week-long retreat, I only ended up getting 2 or 3 days worth of work done. So I'll never do that again. So I've got to eliminate any outside distractions. I also have to allow for some fun. So on my retreat days, every couple of days, because the reason why I go to my hometown is because my girls are there. I love hanging out with them. I schedule some dinners. We might go to a football game. We might just go to a bar, get some wine, get some drinks on, get some dancing in. All that's important in order for me to rejuvenate myself and still feel up to continuing to work. So allow for some fun. Throw in a couple of dinners. Even when I used to go to Amish country, I went to the flea market for a couple of days and did a little bit of shopping. So incorporate some fun. And then finally, and most importantly, you have to finish that plan before you leave that retreat. Because I guarantee you, if you don't walk away with at least a rough draft of all of your sections completed of that entire plan, all the sections that we talked about in part 1 and part 2 of this series, if you don't leave with those sections, you will never do it. I have made that mistake. I have walked away without a complete game plan and felt sick about needing to go back onto a retreat and to finish it. So no matter what, let's just say you're up against your last night and you're not done. Add a night. That's your bad for not using your time wisely. So add a night, but do not leave until your plan is done. Hey guys, are you pumped up? Yes. Are you into this? If so, I need you to subscribe. Hit that button down in the left-hand corner of this video. Give me some love. Give me some likes and some comments. I have given you some real secret sauce to how I've grown my businesses over the years. And hopefully you will be able to walk away and actually implement this stuff. So now we've talked about everything that's supposed to go into your growth plan. We've talked about how you're going to get it done and the specific agenda that you should use on your retreat. So what's left? Well, you've got your workbook, you've got your game plan. I gave you all my secrets. The only thing that's left is you. Will you get this done? It's not a matter of can you, because of course you can, but will you get this done? Will you schedule it? Will you go on your retreat, and will you sit down and take the time to work on your business and think through what you need to do to take your business to the next level? If you say yes, then you are an entrepreneur and you are all about it. If you're still contemplating and thinking and making excuses in your head as to when you're going to take the time and how you're going to take the time, then maybe entrepreneurship isn't where you need to be thinking about going. Maybe you should be looking at staying in corporate America or getting back into corporate America. Either way, I'm here to tell you the only thing stopping you at this point is you. I've given you all I've got. So it's time to prepare for Friday. Hopefully I will see you guys at happy hour. Make sure again that you like and subscribe. Make sure you continue to work through your workbook, and I will see you for happy hour on Friday. Until next time, loves. Mwah. Bye.